Well, Mike, and in all full disclosure, I had some weather delayed, problems. I had to fly out earlier on Saturday than I wanted to, so I didn't get to actually see the quarterbacks throw with my own eyes. I saw what everybody else saw, through highlights and so when people were watching on TV. But I'll tell you, I went in, I kind of, I defer to Mike Mayock on a lot of this stuff and what he says. And what he said before the Combine was that neither of these guys could really do a whole lot from a on-field performance standpoint at the Combine to really help their stock, because he said Marcus Mariota was going to run a 4.5 40 around there, and he did, and show great athleticism. He said Jameis Winston, all he really has to show is that he's a more mature person. And so what I did get to see was his press conference, and I watched him, and I saw a very relaxed and confident person who was not tight in the face of the tough questions, and was very forthcoming with his answers about his past. And so, the fact that he kind of ran a wacky-looking 40 there, I don't think that's a big deal. I mean, if you put Peyton Manning and RG3 and had them run 40 times against each other,
right,
and determined the better quarterback off that, everybody would have taken RG3. So, honestly, I don't think these guys really did a whole lot to either boost or demote whatever their stock was. Maybe Winston, because of all the reports that he was so impressive in the film room sessions, but I don't even think that should be a surprise. You watch him play, and you can tell he's a student of the game.
Yeah, when you're out in Indianapolis, is a lot of the conversation centered around Mariota and Philadelphia as much as it seems like it is around here? I mean, is everybody just kind of assuming that the Eagles are going to try to do whatever it takes to get him?
Oh, yeah. I was talking to a guy who covers the Jets, and he's convinced that if Mariota falls to 6 in the Jets, there's a deal that's going to be in place for the Eagles to move up to 6, and involving Foles. But yeah, hey, there's every conspiracy theory, every avenue that Chip Kelly could potentially explore. People think he's going to explore.
Geoff Mosher, CS.
I personally, and I'm sorry to interrupt. I think Mariota's going number 1. To be honest with you, and I think that there was a lot of sentiment at the Combine after not only Jameis Winston's interview, but also Jason Light, the Tampa Bay general manager, had some very nice things to say about Jameis Winston. And also, Peter King in Monday Morning Quarterback wrote about it today, Jason Light wowing over him and keeping a highlight from Winston in his phone. This is the silly season, I call it, man. People will tell you anything. Maybe he's true. Maybe he just loves Winston that much. But my theory is Lovie Smith swears by Tony Dungy. They're very good friends. They're very close in a lot of ways. Tony Dungy is a big fan of Marcus Mariota, of the Oregon program. His son went to play there. Lovie Smith went to a Super Bowl with Rex Grossman as his quarterback. Okay, so I think he wants a guy who he thinks has potential. Doesn't have to maybe be the greatest quarterback ever, but probably wants to go to bed at night not worried about what his quarterback's doing that night. And that's why I think in the end, and I could be wrong, and I seem to be among the minority in this, but I think the Bucs will take Mariota first.
That would be, I guess, a minority pick because, are you amazed, most about how many people are glowing about Winston in terms of, guys like Todd McShay said it's the second highest grade he's ever put on a quarterback. People putting him in terms of the IQ, football IQ in the Peyton Manning level. I mean, it almost sounds as if this guy is a once-in-a-generation type of prospect.
I don't think we should be that amazed based on his body of work at Florida State. I mean, how many games did he lose? I mean,
right.
He lost one game, right? Won a national championship his first year. I mean, he had a really, really good second year. If this past year was his first year, everybody would say, oh, my God, what a great freshman year. But because 2 years ago he had maybe the best freshman year for a quarterback you'd ever seen in your life and won the national title, there's really no way for him to go up. So he had a great 2-year career. He comes from a pro-style offense. I think the strange thing is that, you see what he's done, all the throws he can make. You hear that he's a real savant or intelligent of the game, and you wonder why Jimbo Fisher isn't getting more looks for for an NFL coaching job. It doesn't surprise me at all. I think that if this guy didn't have a single off-the-field record, it wouldn't even be a decision right now.
Well, based on some free agent stuff here, Geoff, some comments made by Seahawks general manager John Schneider, it sounds like Byron Maxwell is going to be a tough guy. Was his name mentioned a lot when talking free agency at the Combine?
Yeah, his name is certainly that name that's coming about, and if you notice, there's kind of like an odd quietness around it. You've already started to see certain reports of certain guys who are going to be free agents and teams that are interested and what kind of money they're going to want. You know, there was a report about Pernell McPhee, who's going to leave the Ravens, outside linebacker. Who, you know, if you're thinking about Eagles and outside linebackers, you might think that's a guy they might consider. But nothing on Byron Maxwell from reports or leaks financially, and that's basically because some guys are going to talk and do the tampering thing behind closed doors, and some guys aren't. And it seems like, you know, I checked in with sources close to Maxwell, and all I got was it's too early to say right now. So we'll see. But there's certainly, I know there was a report from Tony Pauline of DraftInsider.net. I hope I got that right. That the Eagles he reported the Eagles are front runners for Byron Maxwell. But, I know Tony does some work for PhiladelphiaEagles.com on the draft. He might be dialed into NFL personnel, and that might be what people around the league expect. But as far as that, I've been able to get no other information about, you know, who's interested and whether or not he's leaving the Seahawks.
Well, is that a number? I mean, I've read $10 million a year that he's going to be looking for. Does that sound like a number the Eagles will be willing to spend on a corner?
You know, that's the great unknown, because we have not seen the Eagles yet under Chip Kelly make that big free agent splash where they go ahead and lure in that top guy. And that's mainly, it doesn't mean he's not willing to do it. I don't think he saw the fit. You know, last year was Jairus Byrd was the big name, but all, you know, you've ever heard was that you need your safety to be interchangeable, and Jairus Byrd was always hurt and is really just a free safety, and you actually saw it with So they didn't want to spend that money on that kind of guy. So Byron Maxwell fits the scheme. I mean, I know he plays a lot of zone out there in Seattle, but he's 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, plays really physical. I mean, this is a guy who I think really does blend with what the Eagles do and might be worth that money. And you go look at last year, Sam Shields re-upped with the Packers for, I think it was 4 years, $39 million. So I'm bad at math, but that tells me it's almost $10 million a year. And, Byron Maxwell is younger and won a Super Bowl. So it wouldn't surprise me if $10 million a year was the asking price.
Well, Kerry Williams also won a Super Bowl. What's the thoughts about him and his future?
You know, really interesting on Kerry Williams as I delved into the situation. I think that there was, first of all, there was a perception of the Eagles definitely had to get rid of him, and that's not true. They don't feel that way as of now. I got the sense, and I was told that this is kind of a wait-and-see process. Let's see what the Eagles do with the rest of their secondary, because if they do have to shell out big bucks for a Byron Maxwell, or if they're selling out bigger bucks for a safety, although there aren't really that many safeties worth it, whatever they do, then they may have to go and say, all right, Kerry Williams, we need to, get rid of that contract or work on a restructure with you to take less money. But, part of Kerry's struggles, and same with Bradley Fletcher, who's not going to be back, is that the safety play behind them. So I'm sure the Eagles are thinking if we don't make a drastic move at corner, but we can really upgrade at safety, or just improve over Nate Allen and put Allen and Jenkins back there and feel a little bit more solidified on the back end, then we can pair another cornerback with Kerry Williams and still be in pretty good condition. So I would say that all hope is not lost on the Eagles front for bringing back Kerry Williams. It depends on what they do, and I do anticipate Kerry Williams gets cut, he's going to have a job. I was told that there were already teams that were asking for him because they're looking at the Eagles thinking that they might cut him.
And by the way, Nate Allen name has been cleared in all the wrongdoings that happened last week. So good to hear Nate's a good guy to get his name cleared out of that. But I would assume not going to change his status here. We've seen the end of one of my favorite safeties of all time, Nate Allen.
I believe so, Mike. I think that ship has sailed.
I would assume so, too. But obviously.
But the crazy thing is, Mike, wait, the crazy thing is, though, if you're looking at I wrote this last week. If you're looking at free agency, and Roto World ranked the top 30 safeties, right? And Nate Allen was 8th. That's that almost amazed me, and that made me realize how hard of a position that is to upgrade when, now you only have 7 better options out there than Nate Allen, and, you can automatically take 1 or 2 away, probably McCourty from New England, because one of those 2 guys is going to go back to their team. So that makes him like the 6th or 7th best safety.
Unbelievable. And obviously, he was an interesting guy because he was the McNabb pick. So obviously he'll always kind of have that with him, but it looks like that will not work out. which ends up being a shame because Nate's a nice guy. Just unfortunately, I don't know what happened with him. He seemed like when he was coming out that he was a guy who could cover and, could stop the run, but he just did not translate to the pro game the way that a lot of people had hoped. But good to get his name cleared on all those charges. Geoff Mosher, CSN Philly, for more on free agency. Him and Reuben Frank have a bunch right now at CSN Philly, including a potential free agent quarterback that could fit Philadelphia, which obviously we've talked a lot about. Jake Locker, go check that out. And Jeff, we'll be checking in with you soon, man. Thanks so much.
All right, Mike. Good talking to you.